can be understandable to all of these people, because all of these people that I just named do not have equal level of expertise to understand the scientific jargons. So our writing should be a balance between something for the experts and something for the generic people. Right. So if you don't present our writing in a logical manner, sequence by sequence, known to then unknown, then the reader may get bored. If you start something, some paragraph or some your writing, introduction writing, which is a complex topic, and you start with the sentence or statement which is still in confusion or unknown, then your audience or your reader won't be able to grasp the concept. So what you need to do, from the simple things, you start from the simple things, what is already known to your readers, the main readers, and then build up their knowledge with the help of your introduction, and then take them to the level where they can at least sense or touch up the complex theories or complex ideas you want to share. So this is medical writing. But it's not literary writing, where we have a more chance of being innovative or artistic. So medical writing is a craft more than an art. So you must be crafty, logical, and focused on the sequence and structure of your writing, as compared to you don't need the frills and the flowers in your writing. So one way to avoid this frills and flowers is try to avoid unnecessary adjectives in your writing. So if you try to avoid adjectives in your writing, you would be able to make it more objective and more focused and more neutral. So your writing as a medical writer would be neutral. All right. So because most of the time when you write, you won't be there to explain what's in your mind, what was in your mind. So for example, I have created these slides based on some references. Those are at the end of this presentation, but I'm there with you on this online lecture to explain whatever I have written here. So I have both things, my written language here, written structure here, and my voice is here. But when you send your manuscript to journals or your protocols or proposals to institutional review boards, you are not there at the very beginning. Just your writing is there. So your writing should be standalone. It should be able to convince without your presence. So there is little room for creativity in your writing and more for the objectivity. So there are various stages when you write, and various platform for which you write. So if you are writing for publication, that means you have an approved research project, you have collected data and analyzed it, and you know what are the results, and now you want to write a paper or an article, a manuscript for some good journal. So what will be the order of your writing? So that order would be, you will write first the methods, because you have more grip on your methods. You know what you have done. So in the method section, you will detail it. But I'm not going into the detail of methodology writing, because this presentation lecture is not about methodology writing. It's about introduction writing, but it's a bit just this slide is for the overall structure of a writer. So after the methods, you write results. Um, Dr. Gati, if you can hear, please let them, all the waiting room students in, because 38 students are in the waiting room. Thank you. So methods, results, and discussion and conclusion, and then you write the introduction. Why? Because when you develop your project or proposal, you already wrote something in the introduction, so you know the background. Once you are done with all the data collection and analysis, you are at the stage of writing for publication. So you start writing with methods, results, discussion and conclusion, and based on your results and discussion conclusion, then you can write your rewrite, not write, maybe rewrite your introduction again. And that rewriting of introduction will be tailored as your object, as your results, discussion, conclusion, and this will give the reader more direct connection with you, because you know where to take the reader to. Your results, you want the reader to come to your results. So before coming to your results, they should know right. That's the plan. And maybe a surprise for many people, at the end you write the abstract, the summary of the everything, and at the very end you write the title. The title is at the end, because most of the time your introductions, when they become a coordinated one, your title is changed. So you can keep that title thing for the very end, but unfortunately some of the journals, they are so stubborn, I'm sorry to say, use this word, but some of the journals are so stubborn that when they look at your initial IRB letter, where the title was something a bit different, and at the time of publication, when you submit that IRB letter along with your manuscript, and which that manuscript, if that manuscript has a different title, such journals make a objection on the different titles. They want the title to be exactly same as in the IRB letter. So that's a shame, I'm sorry to say, but you have to comply with the journal guidelines. So I have encountered this problem in the local journals mostly, not in the international journal. So, as I said, medical writing for publication and medical writing for proposals are different. So, medical writing is often considered a craft and other thing. That's all okay. But in the protocols, you will follow the same guidelines: introduction, then methods, then the references. So, introduction and methods are there. So, coming to our next objective, what are the different types of medical writing? The medical writing may be academic, or it could be for the purpose of marketing. So, how come medical writing could be for the purpose of marketing? Because most of the time, when we are doing some randomized controlled trials or experiments, and we come up with some great idea, we want to sell that idea. So we make presentations at different conferences to sell our idea. That's called kind of marketing thing. Sharing your scientific results and selling your idea for the industrial purpose. So that includes health magazines and posters as well. But academic writing, Academic writing may be further classified into two. So one is pure academic, where you are writing solo books or CMEs or maybe clinical papers, journal papers. But on the other hand, academic writing may be under some ministry or government body or maybe some commission, where you are writing some guidelines or protocols, or maybe you are doing some referencing guidelines for the general public, such as the NCOC for the COVID here in Pakistan. They are issuing various guidelines. Those type of guidelines, those are again academic writing, but requires a different type of um, structure, because it is for the general public. So it's more in the plain English and more understandable to the masses. So what is introduction? So we are coming to the very aspect of our lecture. The introduction is used to provide context for your manuscript, right? So on the basis of introduction, you can attract your reader. So why the reader should read your work further? So what you need to mention in your introduction. So um, apart from this slide, what I can tell you, your introduction must be at least 4 paragraphs. No matter how small you are writing, how little you have to write. If you are even writing to 300 words, you need to break those 300 words into 4 paragraphs. Those 4 paragraphs would be, the first paragraph would be what is known about the topic, the magnitude, the burden, the severity. The, the second paragraph would be what is not known. And the third paragraph would be what you want to do, and what are the gaps in the knowledge and what you want to do. And the fourth paragraph will tell the reader why it is important to study, why Dr. Ashraf's introduction is important to be conducted as a research study. So that why is the rationale or the justification of your study. What is the impact of your study? Your impact of his study would be, maybe could be in terms of some economic gain, or could be in terms of morbidity aversion, mortality aversion, or improvement in the healthcare system delivery, or similar things. So whatever the gains your manuscript can in reality bring on, those are your rationale points or the impact points or justification of your study. Right. So as you know, any introduction, any essay has a beginning, middle, and end. So each of your paragraph may have a beginning, middle, and end depending on the size of the paragraph. So an introduction is not the bulkiest part of your whole manuscript. Is not. So your introduction is, for example, if you're writing a paper, 300 words paper, your introduction could be up to 600-700 words at max for a good paper. Sometimes you can see 800 words or 1000 words introduction section in some papers, but that's a poor writing to me. So limit yourself to 600-700 or maybe less words for if that topic is to a good extent known to the people. If that topic is already very novel, for example, last year, if someone is writing in the January 2020, someone is writing on COVID-19, that topic may be a very novel topic. So that person may require a couple of hundred of word more, maybe 500 to 800 or so. But for a topic that is sufficiently known, you can write within limited word count. So what you will tell the reader in your introduction, generally, the problem you are trying to solve. So where that information belongs to within the introduction section, that's your part, as I told you before. So, and then you will tell if there is a problem, there are solutions or proposed solutions, the best solutions, or the solutions that's in your mind, or you can critically review each of the solutions. For example, if you are doing some this kind of practical research. So, but don't forget whatever done previously. You should not ignore the previous work. So all the authors which may be in favor of your work or of your theory, or maybe a competitor, maybe a person who has a conflicting theory as you have. So you should present both of the uh, concepts and theories. But whatever you write, you should be very brief. So if you can, if you can tell your idea or your description within 5 words, the sixth word is unnecessary. So, for example, if you are writing long introductions, the editors, if you are writing for some journal manuscript, so your editor may get bored easily and may have more objections on your introduction than than any other smaller or second introduction. So so, as I said, do not ignore contradictory studies. Do include them because it shows that you are neutral, and it shows that you know the value of science. Science is not just what I'm saying. Science is what are the contradictory and opinions about some subject, some topic. So one of the most notorious problem with the writers is they mix introduction with results, discussion, and conclusion. So each of these section has different purpose. Introduction is about the background of your topic. Result is what you have found out in your research. So research, your results or findings must be separated from your introduction. Discussion is a different thing, and conclusion similarly. So we'll discuss it sometime later. Um, yes, you should not use any abbreviation or acronyms without explaining them first. That's a poor writing if you do so. If you don't explain them first, just beware. So what are the three C's, the core of the good writing? There are three C's. Your writing must be clear, concise, and correct. So whatever facts you are reporting, those are correct. Whatever facts you are reporting, those are correctly referenced. You are precisely talking about your objectives, whatever your objectives are, and you are writing with clarity. If you I'm sorry to say, but clarity is one thing that is difficult to explain but easy to understand. That's a dilemma. But clarity, if you want to understand what clarity is, write in short sentences, small sentences. Do not write lengthy, long sentences. If you are able to express your ideas in small sentences, the reader will be very happy and can easily understand what you are trying to tell him. So brief and specific. So what are your enemies while writing? Repetition, redundancy. So many a time what the writers do, they copy paste things from different sources. Those are comes under the plagiarism allegation. So don't go near to that, and do read about what plagiarism is. Copy pasting is not allowed. When some student asks me paraphrasing or rephrasing is allowed, I say yes, but for undergraduate student, don't do that. Unfortunately, our postgraduate students are also not at very great skills, so I also ask them not to rephrase or paraphrase, because rephrasing and paraphrasing, because we are not native English speakers, we do not have great skills to rephrase and paraphrase perfectly. So many a time what we do, we change the meaning of the sentence, the original sentence, or we fail to correctly rephrase and paraphrase. So don't, I would suggest don't do that, paraphrasing and rephrasing. Repetition is you are using similar words, same words, and same sentences now and then in your synopsis. So it doesn't look good. So it seems that your writing is redundant, repetitive, and ambiguity. So I'll show you some examples regarding ambiguity. If you are writing about some, for example, three reagents, so don't say three reagents, or don't say three groups of people. List the names of those three groups. That's better. So for example, if you are trying to make a sentence like Ashraf Jahangir et al. In their study compared three groups and found out that the results are better for the third group. So the reader is in complete ambiguity. He or she doesn't know who those three groups were. So what you need to do, you need to label those three groups in the sentence, so that that sentence is not ambiguous and is still concise to deliver your idea. And do not exaggerate. And one thing you can do to avoid exaggeration is avoid adjectives. So okay, so the next issue with the writings is circular sentences. So I won't spend too much time on this slide. You can see, for example, the sentence quote unquote, calcium regulated transcription has a different meaning from calcium regulated transcription. So you are starting a sentence from some terminologies and you are ending those sentences on the same terminologies. That's kind of circular sentence. So avoid it, try to avoid it. For example, to identify biomarkers of prostate cancer, we perform microarrays analysis using custom cDNA arrays. So just look at these sentences and understand what ambiguity and circular sentences are. So further to ambiguity is data were normalized to the internal reference housekeeping gene acting, which showed, so this which is incorrect here. So it is wrong. The correct is data were normalized to the internal reference housekeeping gene acting, revealing that. So do not use which is, once again, which is a term or a word which is most commonly used incorrect. So which and that, those are two words you need to look for how to use them and what are the better ways to use them. So there are some other examples, the wrong and right, you can use them. And at the end, there is a list of references which you can consult for further reading. Okay, so um, should I spend time on grammar and tense? I should not, because maybe most of you have better grammar and tense understanding than myself. So read this slide yourself. If you feel you don't understand something, you can always email me. My email, I always share my email with the students. My email is um, Okay, right. So, and I've just shared my email address for you. So, in the end, you will write abstract and then the title. Okay, for the title, uh, you you will face different styles and different guidelines. Some of the journals ask you to keep your title within 10 words or 9 words. That's a challenge. But most of the journals, they accept titles up to 20 words long. 20 words title. So just make a specific, complete, concise title which attracts reader, and then you are happy to go. So for example, read this title: Preliminary Observations on the Effect of Etanercept in Patients with Ankylosing Spondylitis. What are the terminologies or words we can remove from this title? Okay, look again in the bold. Effect of etanercept on patients with ankylosing spondylitis. This preliminary observations, why someone should say at the very beginning that whatever I'm disclosing you or showing you are preliminary observations. That writer may have sufficient time in the methods where he or she can tell the reader that these are preliminary observations. So make your title specific. So if your title is very specific, that means it is sellable, it is marketable, and it is easy to be found by the readers. In the modern era, in the modern timings, uh, those authors or writers which have been cited by others frequently are considered good. So if you want to be cited, make your title abstract and the writing attractive for others. So how much time we have? 10:23, 7, 20 minutes we have. So I'll keep the last 10 minutes, last 15 minutes for question answer. So by that definition, I have 7 minutes left for this lecture. So in the title, you don't use jargons. Most of the time, people use jargons to exemplify or to make the status higher up. So jargons never increase the attractiveness of your title. Sometimes you need to use the jargon because it is a necessary terminology that needs to be there. But try to avoid jargons, even if you are writing complex uh, manuscripts. So in the title, normally we do not accept any abbreviation. No, by normally means maybe 70 to 80% of the time, the journal editors don't like any abbreviation in the title. So for at the undergraduate level, that's a big no for you. So don't use any abbreviation. Some people say you can use common abbreviations such as WHO or HIV, but I would say at the undergraduate level, do not use any abbreviation. So if you are able to write your title within 10 words, that's remarkable. If you are able to write within 20, that's still good enough. But maybe some journals, when you submit your papers or manuscript to them, they will ask you to revise the word count of the title. So how would you make a good title? That's another kind of a small workshop or a lecture, a couple of lecture, how to phrase a good title. Your title should be a reflection of your objectives and the overall study what you have done. So a good title needs more work to do at the very end of the write-up business. So interestingly, not for us, not only for us, the people who are not native speakers, English speakers, but for the overall scientific community and medical community, there are language editing services. So those language editing services, I'm not selling those, or um, not a pro for those language editing services. I'm just showing you that these people exist, coexist with us, and there are certain language editing services which sometimes we require to opt for. So, but on the internet you can find thousands of language editing services, and most of them being run from Africa and India, and some of them from Pakistan. So you can understand what this business is about. So it seems that people are trying to fool around the scientific writers, and they claim something which they cannot deliver. What they do, for example, if you submit your paper to certain journal, that journal asks you to please professionally edit, language edit your paper and then submit, and then we'll accept that. And sometimes low quality journals suggest you to go for certain type of language editing services, and those editing services have a commission to pay back to the journal, that kind of thing. So obviously those kind of business are, you can understand the quality of those such journals and the language editing services. But many a times journals like Nature or Elsevier publishers, Springer, and Sage publishers, they have their own in-house language editing services, as well as some third-party language editing services which are still of good quality. So these names which are written here are, can be considered as good quality, but it's the writer's discretion to opt or not to opt. So, but if you have a if you know someone who is native English speaker and have some science background, a friend, a relative, or anyone, you can always ask them at the final stage of your manuscript to please read this manuscript and tell us, is it good enough for a reader like you or not. So that person should not be a doctor, may not be, but that person, if has is a certain level of qualification, maybe up to A levels or maybe higher, or have native English skills. So that person may be able to read your paper. If that person is university graduate, that's a very plus point. Thank you very much. I would like to take the questions here, so that I can answer those. And I'm opening the chat box there, right? So chat. Okay, chat is like this. I apologize for the audio thing. If in case you feel that voice quality was not good, internet in the city is always not stable. So still we are trying to deliver you quality lectures. So please, if you have any questions. Yes, thank you. So first question arrive here. Sir, should this introduction contain facts and figures related to our study? Yes, because on the basis of facts, you will build up your story. So, Walaikum Salam, Moiz Tariq. You are correct in saying that should we include the facts and figures in our study? Yes, we need to include them, and some of the facts would be in the first paragraph, and some of the fact would be in the second and third paragraph. But the last paragraph, the rationale or the justification of your study, will not have any reference. So just mind these statements and you can write a good introduction. Any other, please? So Moiz, okay, Sidratul Muntaha. Now, should the title of our study be very plain and straightforward, or can we make it more creative to attract the layman audience? By creative, if you mean you are, honestly speaking, the title thing is a weird process, and the outcome is also weird. So टाइटल अगर आप बनाते हैं, आप उसको अट्रैक्टिव बनाना चाह रहे हैं, you can use, sometimes people use idioms and phrases in the title. Sometimes, for example, there is a title which has like this, new CVS technologies have a sting in the tail. I don't remember the exact title, but no CVS technologies have a sting in the tail. Right. This was the title of a script published in BMJ years ago. So, new cardiovascular science technologies have a sting in the tail. So that's a phrase they have used, and a sting in the tail. Which creature has a sting in the tail? And why do it has a sting in the tail? And why do? Yes, a scorpion has a sting in the tail. Sometimes people say honeybee or hornet, but honeybee doesn't have a tail. It has a back part which has a sting but no tail. Tail is for scorpion. So why do scorpion has a sting in the tail? To sting. But sometimes there is a group of scorpion. I don't remember the exact classification, what type of scorpion, but those scorpions have a sting in the tail and they sting themselves. That means in this title, the author is trying to say that new cardiovascular science technologies वो अपने आप पैर पे कुल्हाड़ी मार लेंगी. मतलब फॉर एग्जांपल ये जिस वक्त पेपर पब्लिश हुआ था उस वक्त जो है वो एंजियोप्लास्टी जो है वो या एंजियोग्राफी जो है न्यूली डेवलप हो रहे थे, तो उस वक्त उन्होंने ये लिखने की कोशिश की कि ये नई नई जो टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं इससे कार्डियोवास्कुलर साइंस को नुकसान पहुंचेगा. ऑथर का कहना ये था. बट maybe but what I further said that it was published in where? BMJ. So BMJ is a highly rated, a very high impact factor journal. Still, it may you can find some poor titles. Yes. Repetition would be boring, but I'll do a quick recap. Wait for a while. So, okay. So some students asked me to repeat the initial slide. So I'm quickly going through once again and without can you see the slides? Is it still shared with you? Yes, share. Yeah. Let me. Yes. Okay. Right. So Um, I was talking about medical writing and writing the introduction. So medical writing may be for protocol writing or for medical publication when you are trying to submit your paper. So those are two different things. So within the medical writing, you have multiple sections to cover. The first section that you need to be able to write is introduction. And how to write introduction. So that's all the business of this lecture. So these are the our objective. These were objectives. So we were talking about how what is medical writing. We need to communicate our findings and results, methods with the greater audience, and those audience would be both doctors, non-doctors, healthcare staff, paramedics who have little knowledge of healthcare system or healthcare processes, and because of their qualification, not because of anything else. And those audience may include some experts, cardiothoracic surgeons, or public health experts, epidemiologists. So your writing should be able to convey message to all of those, and even to the general public. So what you need to focus on is precision and logical flow, fluency in your writing. So what I told the student is medical writing is more of a craft than an art. तो आप जो है वो उसको you can balance it in the logical sequence, and the writing and the structure of your sentence should be in a very scientific manner and objective manner. And here comes the thing which is neutrality. Your writing is neutral. You are not implicating something based on gender, ethnicity, as well as likeness or dislikeness. So when you write for publication, for a medical paper, for journal paper, your plan of writing would be in the reverse order. And so you will, in your computer, you will write first the methods, then results, discussion and conclusion, and then you write introduction, abstract, and then title. Why? Because you have more grip on your methods, and now you have analyzed your results. So based on those two sections, you can write a perfect discussion and conclusion. Introduction, you already know about the introduction, because when you start building up your project at the protocol writing and proposal writing, you already wrote some introduction, so you know the background. But on the basis of your methods, results, and discussion, your introduction needs to be tailored. That's why the sequence of writing on your computer or on your notebook is reverse. But when you submit these all sections in the form of a manuscript or paper to some journal, the sequence would again be IMRAD, IMRAD: introduction, methods, the results, and discussion. So I discussed about the types of medical writing. Sometimes we write for, most of the time we write for academics. Sometimes we write for the marketing. For example, pharmaceutical companies, they want to sell some idea or their products. They still write some medical writers to successfully communicate their findings and their things. And academic writing is still can be classified into two. So academic writing is pure academic writing, where you write journal papers or patient education materials or CME, brochures, monographs, books. And academic writing could be in the form of some regulatory writing, such as you are working for a regulatory body such as NICE or NCOC in Pakistan, or PHRC, Pakistan Health Research Council, and they ask you to write the guidelines for safe injection use. So Those writing is still medical writing, but with a different perspective, the regulatory perspective. So what your introduction should be, your introduction should have 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph will tell the reader about what is known about the topic, the severity, the magnitude, burden of the disease. Second paragraph will tell about the gaps, what is not known. Third paragraph, what you want to know. And the fourth paragraph is the rationale. So what your introduction should look like is what problem you are trying to solve and what solutions are available. And not necessarily problems and solutions. Sometimes the listener feels that we are talking about with the term problems and solutions, we are talking about experiments. Not necessarily. This could be true for observational studies and experimental both. So the main tip from my side would be, do not make lengthy sentences. So this is one tip that you can take home from today's lecture. Just be concise, precise, and write in smaller sentences. So the core principles of writing would be, a good writing would be clarity, conciseness, and correctness. So do not misrefer something, not incorrectly refer something. Use correct facts and figures. Do not torn the numbers or other things which you trying to turn in your favor. So write in clarity, and the clarity comes with small sentences. At your level, just make yourself able to write in small sentences. Long sentences are abundant for at this level. So repetition, redundancy, ambiguity, and exaggeration. These are your enemy. These are self-explanatory. If still you don't feel you can understand those, you can email me. I would be able to send you some answers to that, or you can come to my office in case when you are in the college. These slides will be shared to you, maybe not in the same format, because this is a bit heavier format, graphics and other and animations. So I'll try to convert this. I have converted this presentation into a black and white presentation, which I'll share with the coordinator, and that coordinator will share, will upload it um, on your LMS. Yeah, sure. I shared my email, ashraf.jahangir. That's my email. All right. Very important question. So I'm answering something very important here. And there is a website, Equator Network. Equator Network. This Equator Network website has various guidelines for various types of writing. For systematic review and meta-analysis, you have different guidelines, what to write and what not to write. For cross-sectional study, it has different guidelines. For cohort, case control, protocols, and many other types of things, you have different guidelines. So today's lecture was a bit generic. If you want more specific writing guidelines and tips, you can, yes, Strobe is also there. So you can use the relevant guidelines from the Equator Network website. If you want some more, you can email me. My email, I have shared my email. Okay, so Dr. Gati, I think there are no more questions, and
Okay, sir. Noted.
I'm on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, students. Thank you, Gati.